Good evening, everyone. It's me. I'm back. I have a story to tell you guys today. Shocking, right? Okay. Um, so I'm not sure how I should start this, but this story takes place about, I'd say maybe 10 months ago, September of last year. This story takes place September of last year. And at this time, I had just enrolled in a new school, moved to a new place. I was in a new school, new friends, and everything. I just sort of established myself, with everybody. People were starting to know me. They were starting to be cool with me and everything. And it was, just like any other day, pretty much. I was at school, and our usual routine was that at lunchtime we had about like a 45-minute lunch, and there was this like country department store, like very close to the school, and behind it was this section that was kind of blocked by trees that no one could really see, and it was like up a hill, and we would take this trail every day at school and go behind the store, and we just referred to it as like the spot, and we would chill there pretty much every day. It started as like a small group of us, like maybe like five people, 4 to 5 people, and escalated from there. As more people found out about it, more people would go there, and it was starting to get kind of sketch. And the school officials had known about this spot because it had been a place for years, but they'd sort of like stopped checking it because it just wasn't worth their time. Um, but one day, it was like pretty much any other day. Um, I decided that after lunch I didn't want to go back to fourth period because I didn't enjoy fourth period. I didn't like the teacher. It was like an art class, so like I didn't feel like I'd have anything to make up for if I skipped the class. So, I went ahead and I just said, screw it. I'm not going to class. I am going to stay at the spot instead. So, that's what I did. I stayed at the spot, and on this day, there were a lot of people. There was like a lot more than usual. There was like, I'd say probably 10 to 12 people. A few of them came from, different schools. And they would come on the bus from these other schools to the school that I went to and that my friends were at because they had like a class there. Like there was a bus that took you between schools for this class. And instead of going to the class, they would just skip it and, come to the spot because it was during the fourth period, which was the last period of the day. Um, and so on this day, there were like a ton of us back there. And the thing about the spot was that throughout like the time we were there, people decided to start getting bold and start writing graffiti all over the walls. And so in the corner where we sat, there was just a giant like there were two walls that were just covered in like random graffiti. Um, there was like all this like stupid shit like pot leaves and like someone like wrote the word blinker, and people were just like drawing dicks and all that. Anyway, so that was like the biggest thing. There was just a bunch of shit there. People would put up stickers. Someone like drew a portrait of like the school's AP, and it said fuck, and then it said his name, but it was like spelled wrong. And so yeah, so it was like that for a while. And this one day we were all chilling there, and everyone at this time, it was like the beginning of the year, everyone had money and everybody had, weed. So everyone just had carts. That was like the big thing. Like everyone was just into carts pretty much because they were just easy. So there were like 10 to 12 people there, and I'd say like a third of those people, including me, had carts. And I'd just gotten some new ones on my birthday, and so I had two of them, and I was just like sharing with everyone because I was like kind of trying to like become friends with everyone. And in order to do that, I was just sort of, just offering my cart to like everyone. And I mean, it kind of worked. Like everyone just like kind of decided I was cool because I would share and whatever. But anyway, on this day, we're all sitting there. We're all sharing all the weed and everything. And my one friend, he has like three brand new 2 gram carts, and so he has like about 6 grams of oil. And we were just having a good time, we were smoking and all that, just talking, just enjoying ourselves. And I am seated at the corner where I can see the trail that we walked through to get to the spot. And on this trail, I look over, and usually there's no one there, but I look over, and there's a tall male figure with sunglasses on walking through. And I immediately, my heart drops. I'm like, he's gonna fucking catch us. I thought it was like a teacher, right? I thought it was a teacher. I didn't want to get expelled. So, like, I stood up and I looked around and I walked away, and I was like, I looked at everyone, and I go, cop, 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 like it's a cop. And I was like, what? And then I start running, and everyone starts fucking running. And we run like all the way down the long ass passage at the back of this building to get to the parking lot. And we make it to the parking lot, and my one friend turns around and he's like, stop, 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 stop. And I'm like, what? And he's like, it's just a guy. And we go back, and it was just a fucking guy just walking his dog. And we were like, oh, like we freaked out for nothing. So we made small talk with him. We're like, oh, I'm sorry, like, all this bullshit. I don't really remember what we said, but he seemed cool enough. He seemed like kind of weirded out, and he left. And so we thought we were good, right? Turns out we're just chilling there, right? So we're just chilling there after that. And randomly, I see another group of people, but this time I can tell that they're police. They have straight up like the vests on and everything. And so this time I'm like, it's actually cops. So like I get up and run, and I'm like, it's the cops. And I run again. And I just want to tell you guys, you should never do, what I did in this situation, because it was fucking stupid. Like, if I hadn't have run, I don't know if we would have got caught for something else, but we definitely wouldn't have been in as much trouble as we were. But, 10 or 12 of us, we are all just like running. And we're like going all the way back down the alleyway that I was just talking about. And we're running it like as fast as we can. I'm running, and I have 2 carts with me, okay? And I obviously assume that they're gonna, try to get us for weed, because I think that someone might have said that, or they would have just assumed that, knowing, our friend group. Everyone was pretty much known that they were like a stoner. So that's what I thought they were gonna do. So I was running, and I was actually like at the front of the group, and I pulled my cart out of my pocket. I forgot to mention, the first time that we ran, I threw my cart, and we had to go back into the bushes and look for it, and we found it. But when we ran again, I threw it again, and I threw it like behind these pallets, like at the end of the back alley. There was like this stack of pallets. I threw it into the pallets like as fast as I could, and I just kept running. And I didn't see anybody, so I took a right, and to the right was like this little like offshoot building of like this college. And so, I go to this college, and I go into the parking lot, and I walk into the back parking lot where I don't see anyone. And I just start walking, and I'm like acting casual. And I'm just like, trying to act like I'm just a normal person. But obviously they see me, and I hear someone yell, hey, you, turn around. And I'm like, what, me? And I turn around and I look, and it's like the school police officer, like the school resource officer. It's this little short blonde lady, but she's like scary. And so I turn around and I see that it's her. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, what? What did I do? And she's like, come here. You know what you did? Come here. And I'm just trying to play it off. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I walk over. She's like, you know what you did. And she like sits me down on the curb. And there are only like maybe 8 of us left. Seated on the curb, all the police, like, they're talking to each other, like, talking about the others that ran away, because they ran across the street to this apartment complex and hopped the fence. And they were running that way. And they were talking to each other, and they're like, oh, we'll see them on the cameras. Like, and in the end, those people that ran away and hopped the fence, the ones that went to my school, they ended up getting caught. But the other ones, there was no security footage of them coming to the school. So they were never caught, and a couple of them actually got away. But anyway, the 8 of us, we were just seated, on the curb, and the police, they're all talking to each other, and then they start coming up to us, and they ask everyone for their names, and basically they tell us, like, tell us who your friends were that ran away, or else we're gonna charge you with this, that, and the third. They like said like a bunch of shit. They're like, we'll give you extra charges if you don't, like basically snitch on your friend. Is basically what they were saying. And I was trying to refrain from saying that, like telling everyone that that's not actually true. But they basically went to everybody and like stared them in the eyes and asked them, waiting for someone to snitch. And there was like so much tension. Everyone was like seeing who was gonna snitch. Someone thought somebody was. They were totally gonna ask someone for names. Um, and they got to me, and everyone kind of looked at me because I was new. They were like, "Is this guy a snitch?" You know, like I was like a little white kid. They were like, "Is this guy a snitch?" They kind of thought I was like a weird kind of tweaker kid. But I didn't say anything, and I had a good excuse because I was new to the school. I can just say I don't know who those guys were, like I'm new here, and I don't really know. I wasn't there for that long. So yeah, so that's my backup excuse if anything goes wrong. So I just say no, like I don't know, and they just go down the list. No one says anything, so they basically try again. They're like, "We're gonna give you all these charges," and from there, I'm kind of struggling to remember what exactly they said, but they say like we got calls that you guys were behind there doing graffiti, and on that day, no one was actually doing graffiti, but apparently, the guy that was walking his dog, after he left, he called the police on us and reported the graffiti, and they decided to come for that. And they got us for skipping. They were like, "You guys are supposed to be in class, aren't you?" And all this stuff. And internally, I was like freaking out. I was like, "Oh shit!" Like they're gonna know we were smoking and all that. And I thought it was good. But as they're questioning us, I get brought up, to the car, right, to one of the police cars. This guy's like, "Hey, come here," and he's asking me for all my information. Basically, they told us that they're gonna give us all the same charges, and that was one of them was failure to stop at command of a law enforcement officer, because we ran and the cops said, like, "Police, stop," and we didn't stop. So the fact that we continued, they decided to throw a charge on us for that. And despite what we said to them, we told them like nobody has like any markers or anything. Like we didn't do any of that graffiti that's been there for months, which was true. Even though some of it was from us, it had been there for a while and we weren't actually doing it. But they just decided to charge us with it anyway, just to be, assholes, and how it looks. But anyway, I'm talking to this officer, and he's asking me for all my info and everything. And internally, I'm freaking out because I just realized that even though I threw my cart that was on the battery, I had a second one in a zipper pocket on my jeans, and it was an empty one, but it still counts like as paraphernalia. So I was like freaking the fuck out because I thought they were gonna search everyone. And my friend was freaking out too because he had the 3 gram, carts, or like the 3 2 grams. So everyone is fucking tweaking out, and they don't even end up searching us. It was really weird. The entire time they just never searched us for anything. They didn't even mention weed. It was so weird because everyone was known that they were like a stoner. I don't know if they just decided to be cool, or if it's because the guy didn't report any smoking. He just reported graffiti, but they did not search us at all. And if they did, we all probably would have caught like some type of felony, because in this state it's illegal. It's a felony still. So the fact that I was still a minor at the time was also a big factor in it, because I couldn't be, arrested and taken to jail. But in turn, in short, they asked us for all this different stuff. It's a very long, complicated process that they went through, with lots of questions and lots of anger and lots of weird, shit. But eventually they just called our parents each at a time. And one of the kids there was this Mexican kid that I didn't really know at the time. And when they start questioning him, he claims he doesn't know English, and he starts like acting like he doesn't know English. And I actually didn't know at the time that he did speak perfect English, not until I like met him later on. But at the time, he was just completely faking, just 'cause he wanted like an excuse or some type of thing like that. And they were asking everyone like what their parents' numbers were and all this stuff, and they got to me, and they read off the number that was supposed to be my mom's, and I actually thought that it was my number. I got it confused in my head. I'm like, "That's my number. I don't know why it's on there." And I genuinely thought it was. I actually didn't know what my new number was at the time, and I just thought when they read off my mom's number, which was similar to mine, that it was my number. So I tell the resource officer, like, "That's not my mom's number. That's my number." And she's like, "Oh, really? Let's try it out." And she calls it, and it's not mine. And I'm like, "Oh." okay, well, I was mistaken. And then they were like kind of pissed at me because they thought I was just trying to lie, which I know it makes sense, but that's not what I was trying to do. Um, but anyway, they call everyone, and in turn, everyone's parents come and pick them up. Someone's brother had to come to pick them up and all this stuff. They print out my ticket, they give it to me, and I end up having to like go to court for it. But my mom pulls up, and at the end, it's just me and this one other girl, and it was like this little short girl with black hair, kind of dressed like dark, like kind of emo, and it was just me and her that were left. And my mom, picks me up, and surprisingly, I thought she was gonna search me, which is why, while the police were questioning us, I stood up and pretended to like casually pace around, just like walk back and forth and look at my phone, like I was just like trying to pass the time or whatever. And they surprisingly didn't really care, so I just walked around, but I waited until no one was looking, and I reached down into my zipper pocket, took out the empty cart, and just tossed it on the ground and stomped on it, and pretended like I was just continuing to walk. I did it very smoothly and like very secretly, but I really thought someone was gonna notice, but I guess they didn't. Um, and my mom comes and picks me up, and she's like, "Who's that girl that you were with, that's dressed all dark and satanic?" And I'm like, "I don't know, Mom. It's just this girl that was there. I don't know." She's asking me like why I was skipping and all this stuff, and I just tell her like, I didn't want to go to class. We didn't have anything to do. And I tell her, "Oh, I just left and went to the store to get some chips. And I stopped on the way to talk to my friend, and as I stopped, the cops came. And they didn't have any proof otherwise, so I actually stuck with that story, and they kind of believed it. But, I got taken home, all that, lectured. To make a long story short, I had to go to court. I was basically they only gave me 5 hours of community service, which was crazy, and I had to pay a $50 fee to the store for the graffiti. It was like some large amount of money split up between everyone that was there. Everyone had to pay it. So we ended up having to pay $50, even though they had no proof that we did it. And to this day, they never covered up the graffiti. They just took the money and used it for some other whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so that was a fun time. Not really, but eventually I finished off the community service, and it's all in the past now. But yeah, that's the story of how I ran from the cops, got caught, and got fucked over. Hope you enjoyed the story. I left out a couple details I might add on later. I have more stories like this, so if you want those, let me know. And yeah, bye. Baby, do you want a demon or rude boy? I can make it look like suicide.